Yeah, Coach, just a day after the initial roster moves.
Right.
We know that, y'all make a lot of moves and it wasn't anything etched in stone there.
Right.
Where y'all at after adding the tackle today?
Yeah, so, we've still got 2 practice squad spots to fill, which we will, whether that happens in the next 24 hours or really going into Monday. We'll may take our time for there, but we'll see how the next, day or so goes. Obviously, we added Isaiah, right, on the initial 53. So then you have to make a corresponding move, which we did with Josh Miles. And, just even going back to yesterday, it's a tough day. It's got a lot of respect for guys in general in this league. But, I think people forget sometimes in any industry, it's hard to tell somebody that, hey, you're not coming back. And so we try to do it with the utmost, empathy and respect. And so it's still hard. I always think if it stops becoming hard for you or you lose that or you become too callous, you probably should go do something else because it's about the players and the people out there, and we have a lot of respect. We had a really competitive camp, and we appreciate all those guys for their efforts.
And the human part you all said you're going to hold on to, how important is that to, hey, sit down with the individuals?
It's very important.
Walk through it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's we all know what we sign up for, but it still doesn't make it any easier, right? And when you have those conversations, and you never do it in a place of arrogance, because there's been plenty of guys that get released that go on to have great careers. It happens all the time, and you're trying to do what's best for this team. But that's not lost on us, that there's other job opportunities maybe out there, and then guys will hopefully get those chances. And then, there's guys we brought back on the practice squad that, even some of them will have a chance to play week 1 for us, depending on how it goes next week, what we look like early in the week, the health of the team.
And could you, I know it's like sometimes some cat and mouse with the roster situations, and a guy like Parker Hesse, we kind of thought, hey, he's going to probably be coming back when he got cut yesterday.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah, that's back.
Yeah, and then, we'll see how the next week goes. That's when I say that, look, whether you look at it, it's, in a lot of industries, they change. I mean, the best example I can give you, it's not apples to apples, but think how big of a deal signing day used to be in college football.
Right.
Well, now with the NIL and transfers, I don't even know when signing day is anymore. I think they have 2 of them. I mean, it used to be a damn international holiday. And if that recruiting class, if you were wrong on a bunch of guys, it was going to affect you for a few years, and we all saw that in different places. That dynamic's changed. And if you really look at the NFL and the way it's become, I say it all the time, it's become way more transactional. I think this generation of general managers and the way that the league rules are set up, a lot more moves are made. I mean, I think some of the guys you probably early in your career you learn from, I mean, they wouldn't trade a draft pick or a player. They'd rather give up an organ or their firstborn. So I think that's what you're seeing now is there's, and I say that, I'm kidding, in case anybody's wondering there, but I figured you did. You kind of looked at me weird, so I just got to make sure I'm on record to say I'm just joking. Hopefully that was appropriate with the analogy. But then you look at the roster, you're never finished, right? It's like the line you hear in a lot of industries. I know Mr. Blanks used it. There's no finish line, right? And so you're trying to do what's best. You're trying to improve, and we've done that. There's been guys that have made this roster, guys that have helped us that are draft picks are no longer with us. There's guys that we've gotten post-draft, the Newsels, the D. Offords, you've got to be fair, and you want it competitive, and we got guys on one-year deals, and you've got to be objective. And so there's so much that goes into it. And it's a never-ending process, and there's a lot juggling, and then you're also at the same time now the focus shifts. We're going to be playing a game here soon, regular season games. It'll be the last NFL weekend without regular season games for a while.
And the decision to keep Logan Woodside as your quarterback.
So, I think I read 13 teams did that initially. We'll see what it looks like week 1. So it's almost half the league. It's again, if you feel like you've got a guy that's earned the 53 and you want to use that kind of what if, it's an extra spot. So it's not the way, there's, again, everybody's got different philosophies, but that spot is, if you want to dress as a quarterback, that gives you 49 on game day, but it's only, you only use it if there's a situation where he has to come in the game. So may need it, may not. The numbers are that you probably won't need it, but it's good to have if you have the ability and you feel like you've got 3 quarterbacks worthy to be on your 53.
What went into the decision on just keeping John Fitzpatrick? What did you see in the camp that you felt like?
There's a lot. I mean, a lot goes into it, and I'm not gonna. No, you're good, Arch. I'm not gonna find you for that being late, but.
Let's get treatment, Coach.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's good. Take care of it. We gotta be ready to roll. A lot of it goes into it. You know where he's at. John's at a good camp. He's taking a lot of reps for us. We think the future is bright with John, and he's got to continue to go earn that.
You mentioned Isaiah. Just why was he a target for you guys?
Well, again, you're going through it. Isaiah's a guy that's played some real meaningful snaps in this league. He's got experience. He's been a few places. There's some crossover there too. We like the tape, and we wanted to give him a shot. You know, and as you're looking for tackle depth or experience, I mean that's a guy. Isaiah's a guy that's played. Like he, played in Cincy, played in some big games there. Just coming out of camp, so he's in shape, and we like the film from Denver, and we'll see where it goes.
After that final preseason game, Logan had talked to us about how much his confidence has grown. How much have you seen that throughout camp and where he's at now?
A lot. That position in particular, there are a lot of guys that can play, and there's a lot of things that happen along guys' careers they learn from. Some of the guys, if they know that they're not heavily invested in, that can wear on them. It's kind of like the backup point guard in some places, depending on what program you're looking for. Every time he's out there, he's looking over the bench to see if he's getting ready to get taken out. I think there's a big part of the game, a huge part of it. It's between the years too. There's a lot of talented players, and again, those experiences I think led Logan to where he's at now, and in his daily improvement. And so you saw it in the preseason. I thought he played really fast. He played at a high level, and again, we'll continue to monitor that. But I think all three of those quarterbacks have done a pretty good job.
And then DeMarco Hollums making the initial 53. I know you've said a lot of positive things about him throughout camp, but what was the decision there?
I think it's not just what, I think that was, like you brought that up. I mean, he played well in the preseason, but it's not just about that. Sometimes you take that, it's a good evaluation, but then there's a lot of other things that can go in the preseason. Sometimes it's who you're going against. Sometimes you can tell some teams that they're being as generic as they can be, and it's part of the evaluation, but then it's also what he's done on the practice field and the day-to-day. I mean, it's the way he's trending. Hopefully he keeps it. I mean, it's going to be hard to keep off the field, and hopefully that continues to stay at the right trend there. But so he earned it.
What goes into the evaluation when you're trying to figure out just the practice squad guys? Are the guys you think that are kind of bubble guys you maybe would have made the team, or guys that just want to make the guys better in practice? Like, how do you go about picking them?
Well, we're going to develop. I mean, just the odds are that at some point those guys are going to play. So we look at it as a big part of the roster. Everybody says development, but do you really implement that? We feel like we had some success, especially with the O-linemen. That's paid off. I thought not just Newsel, but Tyler Vrabel, Justin Schaefer, they've made great progress too. Those reps are invaluable, especially that position, and things that we do even behind the scenes that we believe in, and I think it's paid off for those guys because you're going to need most of them. It's a long season. You're hoping you're playing longer than just a regular season. So, and then just some of it too is you want to take a look at a player, or maybe every once in a while now you have 16, and then maybe a matchup. Like if you're getting ready to play a team that's got a zone read guy and you don't feel like you have somebody on your roster, you may bring somebody in that week. Or if you feel like, hey, you're going to play a team that's got a lot of big receivers, maybe you're using a spot for that and you're getting an evaluation. You're kind of doing both. So there's a lot of strategy. Everyone's a little bit different, but overall, there's guys that you want to continue to coach that have been here, you think have developed, that may have to play. And like I said, odds are usually they do at some point.
You talked about how important it was for you to talk with the guys, the ones that didn't make the team, right, and kind of let them know. Was there anyone throughout your career that kind of showed you how they handle such? Because it's not easy telling someone they've been let go or released. Has anyone kind of give you advice or?
Well, I mean, I watched it. When I was a position coach, we had guys from different teams, and then, and hearing their stories and maybe some things that they didn't, necessarily agree with, and those guys end up still playing. I was able to coach them. I think sometimes you learn what not to do from some things you hear, but just it's what we believe in. It's a tough business, as everybody in here knows, but it's still the people matter, and there's still a right way to do it, and so that's what we believe in.
This is a broad
broad question.
Mhm.
It's kind of on purpose, but to this point, what's something that's pleasantly surprised you about your team?
I think it's the maturity of it, the way that they go about the work. I mean, I know it's the National Football League, but sometimes you get these lulls in camp. You know, you're not, I know, again, not to keep calling you out, D-Led. I still got to talk to you about your depth chart. But, you know, when you're used to covering camps where you have a lot of padded reps, a lot of competitive reps, well, now the way the schedule is, you have a lot more walkthroughs now, which is good because you can get a lot out of it if you have the right mindset. When you've got the right group of guys and the focus has been there every day. It's never going to be perfect, but that's what you appreciate. You think you have, but until you go through 6 weeks, you don't know. But that part's been made my job a lot easier.
Arthur, is it too early a time when you begin to prep for Carolina? Is it too much
No.
analysis by Browns, or can you start anytime you want?
You can start anytime you want. I mean, I think, too, it's the right way is how much you want to put on the players right now, because I think everybody's focused on the season, but they're all going to get a break this weekend around the league. That's I was joking with the guys. You're going to see all the rookies. You'll see half the league's rookies be at their alma mater to be seen, and that's cool. I'm sure we got a couple guys that do that. They need a little bit of a break. So you're careful again how much you want to overload them, because we're going to have to come back to it next week as you really kind of tighten up the game plan. So there's a fine line. I mean, I bet I'd be shocked if there's not a team that hasn't started prepping. I mean, I'd just be completely shocked if there hasn't. But how much you want to give to the players, because they can come back next week and get back on Monday, with the exception of, Detroit and Kansas City playing on Thursday night. That's different.
Sure.
Yeah, different time.
You talked about Dez last year, about how good he is about preparing and trying to beat you in the building sometimes and things like that. Is he a guy you have to kick out of the building and say, hey, look,
Yeah, and I think,
not there too quickly?
well, and there's a lot of ways that guys go about the work. I mean, if you got the apps now, I mean, you can be anywhere watching film where you don't have to go get the beta tapes or the old 8mm, right? So it's just a lot easier. People can work from home, but there's still those daily interactions you need as it makes sure you're on the same page, and he does a good job with that. And there's a right pace to it. Everybody, the quarterback I've been with has a different process. The guys that last in this league, though, they're the ones, as you know, Arch, they've got a consistent, weekly schedule, and they stick to it because you can't skip steps in your preparation. It's just eventually you'll get exposed.
You kind of mentioned maturity to Bailey's question, but when you think back to the last couple 53-man rosters you guys had here, what strikes you about maybe the strength of this one versus those other ones you had last?
They're all different, different teams, and thankful as hell that I got an opportunity to coach all the players that we've had come through. It's been a lot. And our team's a little bit different. The way this one is currently built, it's certainly we've got some depth on the lines of scrimmage that we're excited about. Some guys that we've invested in early, whether it's draft capital or here when they got here, kind of going into third year in the program, or some guys second year where they understand kind of what's asked for them, they know what's ahead of them, even as you prepare for week one and the season ahead. So it's excited. I mean, it's a fun group to work with. Like I said, a mature group, and we know that the perspective of week one and this thing's a long journey ahead of us, but we're ready to go.
You get a status update on, you got two corners that have been dealing with injuries, Jeff and Mike Hughes. Do you expect any of them to return soon?
They're going to return soon. Is kind of vague. You got a date you were asking
Well,
about?
there's been no IR transaction.
I know. He'll be all over me about when we had turned the injury report in. And he made the rules too, so he complains about it, and then he wants to big time you and tell you that he made the rules. So can't have it both ways. But
Wednesday.
yeah, so we'll put him on there, and we've never tried to game that. But in all seriousness, I think hopefully, I think Monday will be a good test. Like some guys that we held back a little bit, the rep count a bit up, or something like John, who we rested today, you'll be fine. We'll have a better answer on CP, Mike, Jeff, really on Monday. I think it'll be pretty obvious based on their workload. And then obviously we'll put we have your injury report, D-Led, you've been waiting for.
How you gonna sleep that night?
Yeah, this is what I'm in the depth chart. How the hell you have CP third on anything?
I hadn't seen him in a while.
Okay, well, he's not third on
Hey,
it.
you gotta be here to move up on the.
I know, and we got a new position. I was going to mess with your depth chart. This joker position, you know, like in card games, where that could
Right,
be
yeah, just-
kind of There we go. That's what I'm putting him at. So that's my depth chart has that. Yours needs to update.
To that.
I appreciate that.
Once cuts are made, how does the practice dynamic change, especially day after?
Yeah, I was joking. Go down the D line, and it's like an elite private school 1-for-1 student to teacher ratio. You go from all these guys, and then it's like it feels empty out there. It does. It's kind of it's a weird feeling of this practice. Every year I've been in the NFL, you felt it today. Even though we had some of the practice squad guys out there, it felt empty. I'm like looking around, like where is everybody? And even though you know that, I think the players feel it too. You're so used to the rhythm of practice, the way you start individual, and there's just not a lot of players.
I'll piggyback off the earlier question. From a business perspective, you and Terry, knowing that you have some cap space now that you didn't have previously, is that a breath of fresh air to go, I can not only choose who we want now, but in the next week or two, there may be a player that becomes available.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, it allows you certainly a lot more flexibility and going back to where I think every year is different, but you're certainly seeing more trades even in season now. And then as you plan out for next year too, I think that whether it's guys you want to extend or, you're mapping out, who may be available, that's always going on behind the scenes. We have people in the building, that's their job to look ahead. But I think, yes, in the short term for sure. And there's things that may come available, and we're always going to, you got to pay attention to what's going on in the league. But I think that's another part too that wasn't a big deal. It's not, I think it's far away from being what the NBA is at their trade deadline, but I think you're going to see some more transactions. I don't really like to predict, but that just seems to be a trend.
What's the best reaction you've gotten from a guy when you told him he made the team? Like, can you remember one either with Falcons or?
Well, I think some of these guys, even, again, recency bias just because of going through it yesterday, but we've had some guys that we brought in from the XFL, they've had a long journey. Barry, Matthew, Mikhail. You could see the raw emotion, even tell them, hey, we're going to bring you back on the practice squad. And that makes you, that we've seen the, bad news, but that a little bit of good news. And you see that, those guys have basically went down, found a way, and kept playing, and they haven't given up on their dream. That makes you feel good as a coach. So on a positive spin, those three conversations were good.
How important do you think like a league like an XFL, kind of having like a developmental league is for guys trying to make it just instead of coming out of college and not being able to get in?
I think it's great. Again, I'm not in the, was asked about this, talked about it a little bit. Jim Trotter asked me and gave him my opinion on it. And again, just speaking for myself, not as the Falcon stance, just as a coach, I think it's great. I mean, it's proven for three guys that certainly helped us. Those guys came in here and we were very conscientious of them coming off a season and where they were coming in OTAs and kind of get them back and then going into camp. And those guys, all three of them did a really nice job. And I think it certainly helps. I think the development of the game, it's good for the game. I mean, you want the game to continue to grow. I mean, we'll see it on an international level. We go over to London, they're playing in Germany. I think it's awesome. But, yeah, and even the timing of it was great. Just, there was some good, I watched plenty of it, and our pro scouts kept up with it and get the evaluation. I thought it was pretty good football and certainly helped those three players.
Are you guys playing in Germany soon?
No, I have no idea about that. That's a question for Rich McKay. Rich down here or something. I really have no idea. But I'm talking about the games in Germany.
Yeah.
And I was over there and I saw it right before we came back for the USO thing. We were in Frankfurt and you saw there's some big time football fans over in Germany. I had never seen that part. There was a Falcons rally over there in Frankfurt and they were getting ready to put the two games they were getting ready to put them on sale. And then just going around, just listening to people learning, they were talking about the football leagues they have over there. Their football, there's some real football fans. I didn't either until I went over there. And then obviously we played in London. This will be the third time I've been part of that game, and we're fired up for it. But that part's cool. You can see the game growing, and people are big fans of it.
Arthur, the value now of, you had to do it a few times now where you get this extra week in here, get a little extra work in, you get a little bit more time to pick your squad, and then you don't have to rush right back in preparation for that first game. Have you seen major value there?
Yeah, I think the timing is different. It goes back to you just, you try to make the best of what the situation is. Like our first year, we got put on a Sunday night game, so then, that this week was shorter. It felt rushed. Not in a bad way. We planned out ahead, but just because of the going from the game, the day after the game, and then, those guys are off as they should be for 3 days, so it's just different. And then when you're playing on a shorter week, and it's kind of where we were, the health of us, so you were kind of balancing two things. There was guys that take a lot of reps. There were some older guys that didn't, that we were getting more reps in practice, so you were kind of juggling both, and we had more practice opportunities Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And then, coming back out here today, and we'll hit it tomorrow. So it's just the scheduling is different, and you just kind of adapt to what you have. So that it's just different, just the timing of everything.
Yeah, Coach, special section question. I had talked to Coach Gibbs about you, but what was it like working with Coach, legendary Coach?
It was awesome. And I think, when you're young, I know everybody that's starting out on their job, I think they know everything, and you realize as you get older, you really didn't know much at all. And I did. I just put my head down, try to work, try to soak it all. But there's a lot, there's a lot of things that I watched him do that make a lot more sense to me now, that I just observed. And he's been such a big mentor to me behind the scenes. We try to catch up, and I try to, everything he tells me, I try to write down and put down, because there's guys like Coach that have a lot of wisdom if you're willing to listen. But the impact he's had has been enormous, and especially in the last 6 years. And then going back and thinking about that year in 2007, some of the things that happened, the way he handled it, make a lot more sense to me now. That time I was breaking games down, busy trying to get the walkthrough cards and drawing cards and trying to learn and do my job as best as I could. And as I've gotten to grow in this league and jobs have changed, I can't say enough good things about him.
Anything else? All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.